Yahoo! Welcome, my beautiful brothers and sisters, to the Aquarian Adepts, my platform, our platform, to become your spiritual server. And welcome Aries Sun, Aries Moon, and Aries Rising to your end of July 2018 report. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. And this video, like I said, is going to be a bit of a recap of the energies of July. I'm going to be pulling some cards, and this also does apply for like that first week of August, because the energies aren't just going to go away, so they're going to kind of carry on to that first week of August. Well, we have had a super intense July, especially with this Cancer season, and you being a fire sign, you were probably feeling a bit out of your element with all this water energy, right? But now that the sun is in Leo in your 5th house, you're starting to feel more invigorated. But we have to remember, Chiron is still in your house, which is having you look at these deeper aspects of yourself and really healing who you are, yourself, your behaviors, past actions. And Chiron is retrograde and is heading back to Pisces, your 12th house. So you're still not done healing some of these deeper spiritual, karmic, themes in your life. But right now, we are kind of at this interesting time, of course, between eclipses. We are coming off that full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius, which completely shifted the world, and it was kind of interesting. It was kind of quiet. I felt like the one before that, the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, that one I felt a little bit more, and actually literally felt it in my body because I had like crazy headaches during that one. But this one, this full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius, was a little bit more quiet, but those oftentimes bring the biggest change, and that was, of course, for you in your 10th house and 5th house, respectively. The sun was in the 5th house. The moon was in the 10th house for you. Not 10th house, 11th house. What am I saying? It's your 11th house, 5th house. Excuse me. So this is a major transformation of how you relate to other people and how you really, where you kind of see yourself in the grand scope of society. I almost like to think of Aries like, you are kind of like, you are the character. It's like, if you, any type of story or a movie, or if you think of it as a video game, you actually are the character. Yeah, you're the warrior class, but you actually are the character, And it's interesting because now you're really going to begin to find out who you are amongst the greater populace, amongst society, amongst outside of, your family and your job situation, but even in the whole world, it's a really huge and big deal. But like I said, with the sun right now in your 5th house, it's really opening up your heart. And of course, the North Node has been there for some time. So you have been asked and called into your heart. But it might have been a little difficult for you because considering the energies that we've had, over the course of this whole year, and especially with this past July with Cancer season, we've been going through just a major like spiritual washing machine, just clearing out all these emotions and stuff. So let's draw a card to see what is really happening for you. We also have to consider that, since this is the end of July, kind of first week of August report, that we do have Chiron in your sign actually making a sextile over to Mars retrograde in Aquarius at 2 degrees. And that'll happen, I want to say it's going to happen on either Wednesday or Thursday. Probably Wednesday into Thursday. Actually, I can find out right now. It's actually going to happen Friday, excuse me. Or at least that's the apex. But right now it's kind of happening. And this is really about there actually being potential for you to heal who you are. But this sextile is going to be kind of strange because Mars is retrograde, which is going to make you rather impatient and even more impulsive than usual because you're not going to be able to act the way that you want to, or things aren't moving as fast as you want to. Excuse me. Pardon me. But what's happening here is that with Chiron here, Chiron is really asking you to open up this ability and capacity to heal, and is even asking you to be a little patient with it. But it's because since Mars is in Aquarius, this is on such a monumental scale, such a societal scale. Mars, the sign of the individual, is in Aquarius, the sign of the people. So this is about healing who you are in relation to everyone else around you. And there may be some dramas, there may be some confusion, there may be some type of You may be feeling misaligned because you haven't been able to act the way that you want to. Things haven't been moving forward. Things have kind of slowed down, and things are going to even slow down even more when Uranus comes retrograde later this week. So we're going to have 6 planets in retrograde. So yeah, things are going to be slow. Things are going to feel slow, but at the same time, when things slow down, things speed up in other areas because that energy has to go somewhere. It's going to all be internal. So things on the inside are going to be revving up. And there's going to be massive transformation, massive revolution that's happening from within. So let's see what the cards have to say about the end of July for you, what it really meant, and then what energies you're going to have working for you going into August. Alright. We have passion. In many ways, I really see this as your card, or even just a card of fire. The number is 34. The frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies the hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. It assists us in finding the balance within this intensity, moving us from chaos to the calm of its core, where it can let its long-lasting wisdom fill us up. That's exactly what's happening here. And you're going to be especially feeling that, because Mars, it's a very intense energy. It's like, I liken it to like volcanoes. And of course, we liken it to war and things moving fast. And all this fiery passion energy that really can't be contained. It's hard to contain it, right? You contain it when you get to Leo energy, which is fixed fire. But it's this energy that almost feels like it can't be contained. So you might have been feeling like a lot of this chaos and stuff like that, you've been feeling it bubbling up within you and stuff. Mars being retrograde has kind of put a lid on top of this volcano that wants to explode, right? But it's actually asking you to kind of dive deep and go within. And beneath all that intense emotion, beneath all of that stimulation, is actually peace, calm, quiet, and there's a gem that's saying that you absolutely can be passionate. You absolutely can move forward. You absolutely can be excited about taking action and to do certain things and to really bring this into your life and become whatever that you want to become. But what this is also saying is that you want to come at it from a place of wisdom. It's almost like you've been so enthusiastic about this that's almost sort of like kind of temper the flames a bit. And with all this retrograde energy, you're feeling this. You're feeling like your tame's been kind of tempered. But what's really happening is that you're kind of incubating your passion. You're incubating this creativity. So when these planets do come forward, especially Mars coming forward, you're going to explode onto the scene. Onto the scene, Aries. You're going to explode onto the scene. Let's see what else we got here. That card wanted to come out. The 8 of Pentacles. So definitely, I like to think of this as you're working in the lab card. If you've heard that expression, it's like, oh, I was in the lab. It's like, a lot of music artists and producers talk about that. But I like to think of it as like, you're in the lab, you're creating, you're in the flow of things, you're moving, you're putting out material, it's like you're working on your craft. Whoa! You see what I was talking about with a lot of energy? I'm going to take those cards because those are the cards that fell onto the... Those are the cards that fell onto the table, and all the other cards I'm going to put back. Actually, these cards that were face down are the cards that I'm going to keep. And I want to also take the bottom of the deck, which is the Ace of Cups. The cards that fell onto the table were the Death card, i.e. transformation, the Ten of Cups, the World, and the Knight of Wands. So this is interesting because this is really speaking to you are in many ways going through a bit of an ego death. Okay, you're going through a bit of an ego death. And think about this: you have Mars, which is retrograde, and it did come over Pluto. And it's been a while since it came over Pluto, but it's about to go back into Capricorn. So it'll come within that energy. But it's interesting how you really did go through a bit of an ego death, and you've been experiencing this. And it's like you're trying to kind of pick up the pieces of who you were, who you thought you were. But really what's happening is that you really have to become something new. That's really what I see this as. And with the sextile with Chiron and Mars, I think the death card is, it's not necessarily that something for you is going to come to an end or a transformation this week. I think you are realizing that you are actually in the midst of this transformation. You're going to become more consciously aware of the transformation, which has been happening for quite some time. It happened from the moment that Mars came on top of Pluto, which if I guess I could go back and kind of look to see when exactly that was, when Mars came on top of Pluto. But it was quite a while. Let's see if I can actually find it. I'm just going to pop back. How far do I need to pop back, though, is the question. Let's see. Nope, I need to go back even further. And I know this is for the end of July, but I'm just going to tell you this. Okay, so the Mars-Pluto conjunction happened on April 26, 2018, around 7 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. That was back in April. We are now in July. So we've gone through May, June, and now we're in July. That was actually the moment when, in many ways, who you believed who you were died. Now you're actually becoming more aware of what this is, and you have been low-key, and really you're starting to discover this with the Mars retrograde, and especially this was illuminated with that full moon lunar eclipse that we had in Aquarius, because it was conjunct Mars retrograde and the South Node, opposed the North Node, and the Sun in Leo. And Leo is also a sign about ego, but it takes ego in kind of a different direction than Aries does. So you're actually becoming aware that you are literally in the midst of this transformation. The Ten of Cups, and we have to remember that, the Ace of Cups was a card that was at the bottom of the deck. So the Ace of Cups to the Ten of Cups is beautiful because it's actually speaking to a deepening sense of compassion for yourself, for the moment, and where you're kind of heading. It's also speaking to potentially connecting with the lover, connecting with a potential romantic interest. It speaks of this deeper sense of emotional fulfillment, We have the World card here and the Knight of Wands, and I really see that this is you, actually. I feel like the Knight of Wands is actually you. I feel like the Knight of Wands is actually you evolving and coming more into your own, feeling more impassioned, and it's like you're going to kind of take the energies of, I guess you said, like the Page of Wands, because I like to see these as like an evolution, especially with the Page into the Knight. I feel like it's either... And I feel like you evolve from the Page into the Knight into either the King or the Queen. Honestly, it's both, because we all have divine masculine, divine feminine energies within us. But it's like you're kind of, the old you is dying. If you want to think of the old you as kind of like the Page of Wands in many ways, as far as the context of this reading. The old you is dying. And now you're coming into this Knight of Wands, which means that you're kind of taking on more responsibility, right? You're taking on more spiritual responsibility, emotional responsibility. You're no longer just sitting behind and training in like school. You're actually getting out there on the battlefield now. And the world is starting to open up. The world is starting to open up and show you the many, many, many possibilities that there are. And you, like I said, have been working on your craft, been working on transforming who you are on a deeper way, because really this is how you're going to get your deeper sense of emotional satisfaction in life. The three cards that were face down on the ground are the Three of Pentacles, the Judgment card, and the Two of Wands. So I think this is interesting, because I think this is signaling to the fact that you have made a decision, and this was like, I'm sensing this was probably at the beginning of the month, but you made some type of decision to deepen. You made some type of decision, it's like I said, towards the beginning of the month, where you really wanted to call on a deeper reserve of willpower. And this deeper reserve of willpower that you are calling on, because all these planets are retrograde. So you've been trying to find some reason to get out of bed in the morning. And I know that sounds crazy, because normally you're the first one to spring into action, right? Aries rules the first 2 hours of the day naturally. It rules 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock a.m. So you're the first one to want to spring out of bed and get into action. But you have been trying to figure out a reason to get up out of bed in the morning. Trying to figure out a reason why to do certain things. Because it's like, well, I did those things before and it didn't work. What makes now so different? But things are changing. Things are morphing. Things are evolving. when you thought that you hadn't even experienced these eclipses. You hadn't experienced the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, and you hadn't experienced the full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius yet. But now that you have, it's like now, kind of like, it's almost going to be sort of like a judgment that's coming through, and you're going to start to hear the music of what you've been working towards. But the interesting thing is that whatever decision that she made, I like to think of the Two of Wands is making a decision on what path to go. Based off of that decision and whatever's going to come of it, we have the Three of Pentacles, which actually speaks to you starting to believe in yourself, Aries. You're starting to believe that, even all these energies are going, what we will call it, backwards or retrograde or in review period, as I like to call it, that, things are starting to look up. Maybe you're starting to understand and kind of almost feel this slower pace and almost kind of learning to kind of quicken your step. It's almost kind of like, if you want to think about it, it's like, imagine running with like a parachute or running with like weights. And that's kind of what everyone's doing right now. With all these planets that are going retrograde, we're like doing we're doing like this, like the training with like, and I'm going to mention this, and some of you might not get it because I don't know if any of you watch this sort of stuff, and I'm a nerd, but it's like Goku and him wearing like a weighted vest when he trains in battles, right? But then when he takes that vest off, he's super fast and he's super quick, and he's able to dodge moves a lot quicker, and it's able to help him train. That's kind of what we're all doing. We have like this spiritual armor, so to speak, or we have like these spiritual clothes, so to speak, and it's like weighted right now because all these planets are retrograde and are in review period. But you're starting to learn how to become fluid, Aries, with the weights on. So imagine what happens when the weights take off, especially when Mars goes direct, which I'm going to go ahead. I told you when Mars conjuncted Pluto, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you when Mars goes direct. Because I want to say it's in like a month or two that it does this. When Mars finally goes direct. Yeah, in about a month. Mars will go direct on August 27th. So, of course, we'll talk more about that then. But from now and wow, that actually occurs on the day of a grand Earth trine. That's going to be interesting. So, I digress. So, as Aries, you're kind of caught in the middle right now of this deep transformation, which has been occurring over a 3 to 4 month. It's been covering over a 2 to 3 month period, while your ruling planet has been retrograde. And July was all about purging these deeper emotions that you have felt have held you back, and even swimming past these deeper emotions, which you don't really necessarily like to do. You don't necessarily like to focus on some of that stuff, but you've been having to process how you feel. How do you feel about how things are going? How do you feel about who you are right now? How do you feel about the actions that you've been taking, the behaviors? How do you feel about where you're evolving to? Do you have a deepening sense of self-worth and value? Do you believe in yourself, Aries? Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that you're worthy? The Five of Pentacles. So some of you don't believe it. That's actually the issue. Some of you don't believe that you're worthy. Some of you don't believe that you can, that you have the willpower to make it happen. And some of you are feeling these energies with all these planets retrograde, and even almost sometimes even using that as an excuse as to not do things. I see people that sometimes, and I've done it. Of course, I blame planets for certain things. Like lately, I haven't been wanting to. I've been wanting to make videos, but I haven't at the same time. And it's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just that I haven't had as much energy. But the funny thing is that you can just summon energy. You can just summon energy and bring it. And that's the interesting thing about it, is that when planets are in retrograde motion, it doesn't mean that energy is gone. It just means that it's turned internal. It just means that you have to take an extra step to activate that energy. So So Aries, if you've been feeling like you've been energy depleted and that you don't have the energy to get things done, if you feel like things are moving slow, know that you actually have the power to dive deep and find your core and find your center, and to actually reinvigorate your willpower, to reinvigorate your sense of acting towards that which you really want to create, which is, from what it seems like, a deeper sense of emotional fulfillment, and also just a deeper sense of compassion and love for yourself, because you are worthy. The Five of Pentacles is like, I'm not worthy, I can't do it. I feel, it's like, I like to think of it as like the spiritual poverty card in many ways, even though it's an earth. I like to think of it as, yeah, it could speak to financial times and all that stuff, but we also have to consider that Uranus is in Taurus right now. So it's like, you're having to really revolutionize the way, you have to revolutionize your value system, Aries. And the way that you do that is by learning to love yourself. Let's see what else we have here. Then I'm going to come out. Okay. All right. So y'all, these cards just kind of popped out. And it's interesting that this was a card that came out. We have the Five of Cups. We have the Five of Cups with the Ten of Wands, right? And the Ten of Pentacles. So what does this tell me? This tells me that you have been focusing on things that have not worked out. You have been focused on the past way too much, not realizing that your cup is still full, realizing that you have a reason to appreciate the moment. And not only that, but you've been carrying this burden on your back, and it's been weighing you down. You haven't been able to move forward, and it makes sense. This is like, it's interesting though. You see this Ten of Wands here, how she's carrying this, and how I mentioned that we're doing this sort of weight training where we're like trying to move and act and do things with like weighted clothes on or like a weighted vest on, and we're like training almost like, think of it like martial arts. And like, or like say if you're running, like, and you know, you're like, they tie a tire to you and you have to carry the tire, or they tie a parachute to you and you can't run as fast, but the moment that you take it off, you just take off, right? The moment that you take off that parachute, the moment that you take off that tire, bam, you move forward. And then you realize that while training with it on, you actually did get faster. Yeah, there might be a temporary boost, or it seems like you're like really, really super fast, but then when you kind of come back and naturally come back into your natural pace, you will see that your natural pace from now is actually greater and more efficient and more proficient and faster than your pace before. That's the purpose of the weight training. The purpose of the weight training is that, yeah, you will feel good from that initial jump, and you're going to feel this initial jump, especially, like I said, when Mars, this is kind of like a more of an August thing, but you're going to feel this, especially between 28 degrees of Capricorn, where Mars will retrograde to 9 degrees of Aquarius. That's going to be like that sprint where it's like you just take off the parachute and you're sprinting. You're going to come forward. By the time Mars passes, and this is the interesting thing with you, all of the other signs, I think the only other sign that might get this advantage is Aquarius, only because it's in their sign, but also depends on whether they're attaching themselves to the south node in their sign or they're deciding to transmute it and follow their heart. But the second that Mars conjuncts the spot where it was during the full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius, that's actually when people are going to come back to their natural pace. But it's going to be faster than the pace that it was before. The only issue is that people aren't going to be aware of it until Mars comes out of the shadow period. You are going to be aware of it when Mars hits 3 degrees again of Aquarius. You're actually going to be aware of it. The only other sign, like I said, that's going to be aware of it is Aquarius and maybe Leo. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of this moment. And because look what's right around the corner, the Ten of Pentacles. I've drawn the Ten of Pentacles for several signs during this, which is letting me know that everyone is going to start to feel better about themselves. And I'm seeing this more as like a spiritual value, seeing that they are infinite, seeing that they are infinitely abundant. And yeah, this naturally could lead to, you making more money or having more assets, or you getting a car that you've been wanting, or you getting that house that you've been trying to get. It can certainly lead to that. But what I'm feeling is that before that can even resonate, before you can even resonate and vibrate on the frequency of that physical object, you have to feel it in here first. And that's what you're working on, Aries. You're working on feeling it in here. You're working on feeling it in here. that is it for your reading, Aries. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, you can follow the link in the description below too, theaquarianadepts.com. And always remember, my beautiful brothers and sisters, to keep moving forward, to stay focused, and Yahoo! Smile often.